You know, obviously he has so many confidence. He's one of the best basketball players in the world ever. So, he just told me, be you. I remember seeing like an iconic line where he said, don't fit in, don't fit in. King James recently addressed Luka Doncic in a manner very few anticipated. Since that Bronny drama ignited a blaze online, this silent pause now carries weight. What Luka discloses here isn't cheap chatter or glory. It feels like a directive, and crowds believe it clarifies all that is happening soon. The deal that shattered the league. Let's revisit the eve of February 1st, 2025. Most of the hoops landscape slept. No one saw this landing. No one had a hint. And then from the void, like a strike of thunder amidst a calm night, the Dallas Mavericks pulled off one of the most stunning swaps in the whole record of the National Basketball Association, shipping out Luka Doncic, Maxey, Kleber, and Markieff Morris to the Los Angeles Lakers in a giant 3-squad pact that also included the Utah Jazz. Sent to Dallas, Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-rounder. The Utah Jazz acquired Jalen Hood, Shafino, plus a pair of second-round choices. And simply like that, the entire hoops terrain was fully and wholly changed overnight. Now, ponder this for a second. Luka Doncic was 25 years old during the time of this swap. 25. A true MVP threat. He had just marched the Dallas Mavericks right to the brink of the huge NBA Finals the prior year. He was a stud that every lone executive across the association deemed unmovable. You simply do not deal a star like him. You never do. But still, rumors suggest that Dallas boss Nico Harrison arranged this pact, covertly with Laker chief Rob Pelinka, without ever offering Luka to any rival squad in the sport. No price. Hike, no power, zilch. Only a dark night ring and a promise that will remain as one of the truly most debated moves in recent athletic lore. The logic from Texas? They claimed it concerned his fitness. They stated it concerned defense. They noted worries regarding Luka's mass, which had allegedly spiked to near 270 pounds, his constant leg issues, and his refusal to respect squad workout plans. Nico Harrison spoke on tape, stressing that Grit claims titles and marketed Anthony Davis as the better dual-threat athlete who could secure their path beside Kyrie Irving. But here is the point that everyone in their crew was speaking at. That moment. Pundits, experts, crowds, even rival pros, they all claimed those factors felt like cover-ups, spun after the deed. Since when you possess a young, historic scoring genius, you do not swap him for a veteran big man with his own long damage record. The numbers just do not sit right. And the feedback, man, the noise was something else completely. Pro ballers around the map called the swap a sin, the stupidest plan, unimaginable, and the poorest call in recent memory. Icons like Anthony Edwards and several Knicks athletes were openly voicing their shock. Hidden locker room surveys revealed total bafflement on why Dallas would ship a young legend for what they received back. Dallas loyalists staged rallies outside the American Airlines Arena, screaming, "Axe Nico," whilst a few got tossed for gripping anti-manager boards. There circulated even news of grave threats, aimed at Harrison, which is clearly steps too deep, irrespective of how poor a deal may seem. Luka personally was utterly ambushed. He found out the news via social apps, which remains one of the most rude methods you can discover that you have been kicked out of your home. He soon defined the post-swap slander flowing from Texas as hurting, but declined to clap back openly. He allegedly has not talked to Nico Harrison since the deal went down, and insiders hint he holds anger over dropping massive sponsorship cash and contract deals linked to his run in Texas, cash that might have been worth over $200 million. LeBron James was allegedly stunned by the swap and owned no early insight or hand in piecing it together. Voices from ESPN and several pundits painted LeBron as shook and in shock for days later. Neither he nor Anthony Davis was asked previously. LeBron himself soon confessed that in his 22-year run, he had never faced something exactly like this business.
Obviously he has so many continents. He's one of the best basketball players in the world ever. So, he just told me, be you.
I remember seeing like an iconic line where he said, "Don't fit in."
Don't fit in.
That was Luka speaking on the specific first point LeBron told to him when he landed in Los Angeles. Be real. Don't merge in. And that basic guidance shows you a ton regarding where LeBron's mind was then. He was not engineering this swap behind the curtain. He was not yanking chains via his rep, Rich Paul. He was a shocked observer who, after the dust settled down, chose to make the very most of the chaos by greeting his fresh partner with wide arms. See, there were some early talks involving the Boston Celtics before this pact got signed. Los Angeles tested trading Anthony Davis, engaging Boston's front office lead Brad Stevens, who managed operations there. Reacted vaguely yet displayed interest given their previous pursuit of Davis back in 2019, leaving New Orleans. However, discussions stalled out completely. The Celtics avoided chasing Davis hard, so the swap pivoted specifically toward Dallas involving Luka. Zero insiders suggest Luka Doncic was ever truly considered for that Boston squad. Plus, no deal announcement regarding him landing there has ever existed in any verified journalism whatsoever. And yet, even though that Celtics link is basically nothing, the swap itself was absolutely seismic. And everything that has transpired happened afterwards. Every single controversy, every beef, every flash of tension inside the Los Angeles locker room, and it stems entirely from this one singular moment. Luka joins Los Angeles and fissures begin emerging. So, Luka Doncic is officially now a Los Angeles Laker. Let that reality settle for a second. The Slovenian phenomenon who matured worshipping hoops while working as a floor attendant at EuroLeague matches. The child who viewed High School Musical 10 to 15 times because he adored the hoops sequences. That man is presently donning purple and gold, sharing the backcourt with LeBron James. And those initial days, the first few weeks were genuinely beautiful.
LeBron James, and the early days were genuinely beautiful.
Think about all of the anticipation you must have felt when you entered the arena and you see the 77 shirts all over. How did it feel when you actually got on the court and just got to start playing basketball and you and LeBron are throwing alley-oops? How did you process the whole thing emotionally?
Special. The way they received me, everybody. It was amazing to see. I was a little nervous before. I mean, it was the last time I was nervous before the game, so.
Luka characterized his debut game wearing a Lakers jersey as one of the most unreal moments of his whole life. The team placed his number 77 jerseys upon every single seat inside the venue. The fans gave him a standing ovation which rocked the center, and LeBron, in a gesture displaying immense class plus generosity, messaged Luka on that specific morning, telling him he could get introduced last during player intros. A prime spot that has traditionally goes to the absolute biggest superstar on that squad.
Yeah, he texted me in the morning, he said, whatever you want. And I said, it's for him to text me that, it's just amazing. So it shows what kind of person he is. And, he let me have my moment, so I really appreciate it.
So he said, it's your choice, or I mean, when you say whatever you want, what do you
Yeah, he said, whatever you want. He texted me, whatever you want.
And so what did you take back?
I mean, today, if he can let me be this one, but from now on, he'll do the last.
That scene defines what true respect between two major superstars looks like. LeBron was willing to step aside and let Luka take his spotlight. Luka, in turn, was humble enough to say he only wanted it for that single night. And when they finally got on the hardwood together and began playing hoops, the synergy was instantly obvious.
I mean, it's great. You see, I've never played with a guy like this. And, just being traded to here, to LA, I mean, it was different. But just to play with guys like him, like, it's unbelievable. Like, I can learn so many stuff, first of all, off the court, all the things he does just to be ready for the game. And obviously on the court, everybody knows what kind of player he is.
Luka was in awe.
Luka was amazed by LeBron's work discipline. He spoke about showing up at the facility and finding that LeBron had already been there for hours, having already completed a full session before Luka even stepped through the entrance and on the floor. Steve Nash noted exactly how comparable these two athletes truly are. Both of them are basketball processors who can scan the floor at a level almost nobody else can rival. Both of them can crush smaller guards and punish larger ones. Both of them throw passes that only a fraction of players in the total history of the sport have ever been capable of executing.
Yeah, it's a great point. One of the, you guys are both incredible passers. One of the things about your passing game that I always really admire is the late pass. Like, did you do that as a kid, or is that something you developed as you got older? But it's like, it's almost over, and then you go like almost 180 behind you to someone for three. Like, where did that come from? Like, is that something that you always did or it developed in time?
I think it developed during time. I don't think I did that as a kid.
Yeah.
Everything looked flawless. Two historic legends working it out together, constructing something unique. And exactly 1 year into this alliance, the Lakers are sitting 10 games above 500, with Doncic averaging roughly 28 points and 8 assists a night. By most metrics, this has been a solid duo. But beneath that success, beneath the reels and the lob dunks and the winning record, there have been fractures growing. And those specific fractures have everything to do with a young kid named Bronny James. See, LeBron and Bronny James made history together as the first father-son pair to ever play in the NBA at the same time. They first shared the floor in a preseason match on October 8th, 2024, in the regular season debut on October 22nd against the Minnesota Timberwolves. It was a fantasy realized for LeBron, who had spoken about wanting to hoop alongside his own son for years. But the reality of Bronny's NBA run has been tough. His rookie year saw him play 27 games, averaging 2.3 points, 0.7 boards, 0.8 assists, 6.7 minutes, shooting 31.3%. In his second run, stats barely moved, hovering near 1.9 to 2 points per game in roughly 6 to 7 minutes of run. And this is where the friction starts to boil over, because Luka Doncic is a player who demands perfection from the guys around him. He operates at such an insanely high level that when he generates an open look for a comrade, he fully expects that comrade to take the shot. And during a November 2025 match against Milwaukee Bucks with LeBron sitting out of the rotation, Luka's irritation with Bronny became impossible to ignore. Here is the situation. Bronny started that specific game. Luka slashed hard into the key, pulled 2 defenders, and whipped a pass toward Bronny, waiting completely uncovered in the corner. It was a pristine look, a regulation deep 3, with 0 defenders within 5 feet. Yet Bronny refused the shot. He froze, attacked the baseline, and deferred the rock to another guy. Luka threw his hands up in sheer disgust immediately. Then, on the very next trip, the precise same sequence occurred. Luka generated another perfect chance for Bronny, and yet again, Bronny moved the rock instead of firing. Head coach JJ Redick was seen on video screaming, "Bronny, you have to shoot that rock." That tells you precisely what you need to understand regarding how the whole coaching unit viewed Bronny's indecision at that juncture.
Luka's in pretty deep, kicked it into the corner. Bronny getting the start tonight. He's seen plenty of action.
So, was this contempt from Luka towards Bronny? Or was it merely a franchise basketball talent getting annoyed that a colleague would not pull the trigger on a wide-open attempt? Most rational observers would say it was the second. This is what occurs on hardwood floors at every level across the globe. When you build an open shot and your partner gives it up, you vent. That is standard. But because we are discussing LeBron's kid and because we are discussing Luka Doncic, who just landed as the new face of the organization, every single one of those instances gets amplified 1,000 times over. The true conflict, the media briefing snub, and what happens now. The Bucks match drama was far from the sole event that raised questions this season, because a few months after, something occurred off the floor that made matters even more complex. And this time, it was LeBron and Bronny who stood at the heart of it, not Luka. August 2025, the Lakers held a formal briefing announcing Luka Doncic's fresh 3-year, $165 million extension. This was a giant pact. This was the franchise, formally telling the globe that Luka Doncic is the future of the Los Angeles Lakers. And nearly every single player on the squad appeared to back their colleague. Nearly every single member. LeBron James and Bronny James were 2 of the few Lakers missing from the room. LeBron was reportedly vacationing and golfing during the time of the event. He praised Doncic via a video chat, which is fine and all, but it is not the same as physically being present. And the heat arrived fast and heavy. Sports pundit Dan Patrick went on his program and directly called out Bronny James, stressing that as the last man on the bench, someone who is fighting to stay inside the league, once his father retires, Bronny should have certainly been at that media briefing to back his partner. Patrick implied that Bronny could have and should have pushed his dad to cut the trip short for something this major. Because when it is all said and done, you are the last man on the bench, and your team just pledged $165 million to the star. Carrying this unit for the next decade, you show up. You just show up. This drama fed into a wider talk about the power balance inside the Lakers organization because LeBron James has been the boss of this outfit for years. He is the reason Anthony Davis came to Los Angeles in the first place. He secured a title in 2020. But now, with Luka Doncic in the building, there is a very real and very distinct shift happening in managing that transition. Figuring out who the alpha is, figuring out who gets the last word, that is never simple. Updates from Shams Charania noted that LeBron was entering very interesting soil with Doncic set as the new face of the team, and that working this dynamic was going to demand careful focus from all sides involved. LeBron has handled it publicly with class for the most part. He has said all the correct things about empowering Luka and letting him be the guy, but there have been moments that make you pause. There was that line where LeBron said something along the lines of, "It is Luka's team when I give it to him," which is one of those claims that sounds positive on the surface, but carries a very different vibe if you read between the lines. There were also stories of LeBron's off-season actions sending mixed cues, covering workouts at old spots and vague notes about European leagues, which some observers interpreted as a refusal to fully cede the spotlight. And then there was the Stephen A. Smith incident. Now, this one did not directly involve Luka, but it definitely connects to the wider tension surrounding Bronny's role on this squad. In March 2025, LeBron James physically checked ESPN voice Stephen A. Smith courtside after a Lakers match over comments Smith had made about Bronny's NBA readiness. Smith had been blasting Bronny's path to the league, noting he needed more G League time and hinting that LeBron's juice was the only reason Bronny held a team position. James approached Smith and allegedly warned him, "Quit targeting my kid." Smith himself afterwards recalled the incident by noting this wasn't an athlete facing him. Truly, this was a guardian. This was a dad. This exchange unveiled something truly vital regarding King James. When it regards Bronny, then the gloves come off. James remains a dad mainly and a professional athlete next. Yet this defensive nature, while also entirely logical from a personal standpoint, forms a wildly complex situation since your child is also your peer, and if your star colleague is a 26-year-old Titan who is bound to feel annoyed if the boy does not fire the rock. Yet here is the factor that is not discussed nearly enough. For each instance of friction, there exist real flashes of bonding and brotherhood amongst these three men. There is video of James placing Luka in a joking chokehold throughout a match, where Luka first acted like he was ready to brawl before seeing it was James and cracking a massive grin. There exists taped sound of James and Luka mutually roasting an enemy center named Quinton Post within a contest where Luka called him out, and James supported him by noting the man was a scrub. Such is not the conduct of two rivals who despise one another. That is two colleagues enjoying bonding and forming unity. Yet when it relates to Bronny particularly, there occurred a splendid scene within a match versus the Wizards, where Bronny forced a turn and hammered a jam, and both James and Luka responded with pure elation and joy on the sidelines. There existed that exhibition instant when Luka spotted Bronny heading near him and playfully pivoted and went the opposite route just for both of them to break out giggling. This is simply men being men. This is partners, goofing about. Now staring at the larger landscape here, one season past the deal, the inquiry is not if James and Luka can mesh. They surely can. The Lakers are securing basketball victories and Luka is flourishing, beside one of the finest talents who ever played. The true issue is what occurs when James ultimately walks away. Since when that time arrives, Bronny's tenure with this franchise becomes a bit less secure. Lacking his dad's shadow, lacking that defensive guard, Bronny is going to need to show that he fits on an NBA squad on his own skill. And with stats of roughly 2 points per night in sparse minutes, this is going to be a truly tough point to argue. James himself has recognized this truth in his own style. When quizzed how long he intends to stay active, he made it plain that his future verdict will be shared amongst himself, his spouse, and his girl, and that colleagues will not figure within it.
As far as how long I go in my career?
How long you in your career, right?
Zero. The motivation to be able to play alongside him every night, that's super motivating. That's what I'm gonna train my body for, every night that I go out there and try to be the best player I can for him, and we're gonna bounce that off one another. But as far as me weighing in on, him and some of my other teammates of how far I go in my career now, it would be literally my decision along with my wife, and two of my boys are already gone. Well, shit, one of them is somewhere around here. Yeah, Bryce is down there in Tucson, so he's out the house. So it'll be a decision between me, my wife, and my daughter. Like, that's not even. It won't be, hey, having a meeting with my teammates. It won't be that.
Such is James staying as truthful as he can get. Luka drives him, hooping beside someone so gifted at this point in his tenure is a blessing. Yet, when it all boils down, this is a household verdict. And when James does choose to step down, whenever that might happen, the Lakers will truly and wholly pertain to Luka Doncic. Meantime, regarding Dallas, the fallout has been nothing less than tragic. Nico Harrison was ultimately axed. Anthony Davis lasted just 31 matches prior to getting swapped again to the Wizards. The initial return from the Doncic trade has been reduced past belief. The sole bright spot for Mavericks supporters is that losing guided them to the #1 selection in the draft plus, Cooper Flagg, who has been breaking rookie stats. Yet ask any Dallas fanatic if they would swap Flagg's upside for Luka Doncic in his peak, and you surely know what the reply would be. Thanks for viewing. If you liked seeing this clip, tap on one of the squares showing on your display to see more related stuff.